Okay, hi all, it's Martin here. Just wanted to clarify a couple of things. There seem to be one or two confusions today about what's happening on January the 5th, and it is obviously awkward coming back to that. So I just wanted to be absolutely clear that people knew what they were doing. This first shortened URL here, tiny.cc/EHWLC, that's where we work, Jan 5. If you type that into your address bar, this is where it will take you. Okay, for those of you that are using this resource, some are, some aren't, that's how you get there. And as we said in the session, the training session, you can use this however you think is appropriate. All of it, none of it, some of it, whole group, small group, whatever, you work around that. So just to be clear, that first link there, tiny.cc/EHWLC Jan 5, will take you to the blend space that includes the resources for the vocational embedding literacy and numeracy. And if you want to play the whole thing, you click play. There's some tasks built in already. You can navigate through and so on. From here, you can always go directly to a particular tile, or you can just close that window there, and if you want, just go to whatever tile you fancy. So there's multiple ways of using it, multiple pedagogic approaches you could employ, lots of different things you can do, much more than you will have time for. I want to reiterate that. The second part of the session, still facilitated by ATs where they are available, or a member of PD where not, is the tech-based session where you do not need to be an expert. You just need to be able to stop and start and give people something to write on and time to talk about it. In fact, it's probably actually something of an advantage if you haven't encountered these things before. And this is how it works. Here is the link to the overall presentation, which is a Google Slides presentation, like a PowerPoint, but on Google and therefore in the cloud and accessible to everybody. And tiny.cc/EHWLC tech in the address bar will enable you to go here. And this is what you will see. Now you won't be able to edit this, but you will be able to copy it if you want. Okay, so you can navigate through the slides like that, or you can go into present mode. But in fact, I've already gone through the presentation. All you really need to do is just come here and click on the YouTube link. Okay. Before you do that, though, you might want to make sure everyone's got a copy of the handout where they can jot notes during the presentation. So I've made a link to it here, so you can just either make copies and share them locally, make a single copy for a group, again, multiple ways you can do it, but the simplest thing is to print it out and give it to people and put it on the desk. But it could be a live document that could be collaborative and shared. It depends what your skill set is, what you're confident with, what technology you've got in the classroom, and so on. So the idea here, of course, just going back to the presentation, is that as a group, the person facilitating the session plays the video. And
right, what is that?
I really, I'm not looking forward to having such wide exposure on the day, particularly because to me, now that I've watched it through a few times to check that I've covered all the points I wanted to cover, it feels quite long. So my recommendation would be that with that checklist, a handout, you watch a part of it, the blend space bit, take some notes, Lino it bit, take some notes, Quizlet bit, have a little break between rather than going through the whole thing. That's my recommendation. Really, it's up to you. It is 22 minutes long, though, and it's supposed to be covering the technology elements, also the embedding elements, the planning elements, the stretch and challenge elements, the differentiation elements. So that's why it's quite lengthy. And it also is like a brief intro, a brief how-to. So that's that bit. And then in different ways, according to different departments, different plans, all tailored to different needs, the idea is that people come back to this presentation maybe after lunch or later in that session using their own devices with their own headphones if they've got them, but they're not essential. It's just recommended. They can use this URL, which you've already had, to bring them to the presentation, and then they can go through it again, revisit it, go through it again, and have a look at the slides that deal with those tools in turn. Now, how people approach it is entirely up to them. I cannot stress this enough. It's up to people how they engage with it. They don't have to go through it in a linear fashion. If they've used these things before, then perhaps they could be encouraged to revisit the stuff on the specific stuff on embedding that they'd looked at earlier in the day. It really is designed to try and enable people to go somewhere where they haven't been before, or to explore something they haven't been before, and be a little bit creative as well. Now, because some people like step-by-step guides, I've provided a step-by-step guide in each slide in the presentation. This won't play unless you're in present mode. So that's worth noting. But now, notice that this is another screencast.
Martin Compton talking about sticky note, post-it note type tool called Lino.
This is another screencast with me going into real detail from beginning to end, how to Lino it, and then later on how to Quizlet, and then later on how to blend space. That's where people will need the headphones if they want to watch those how-to guides. They can stop them and try a bit, come back, do whatever, or not watch them at all. So there's no compulsion, no obligation. It's about finding your way. So the role of the AT in this session is to queue up the video, give the handouts, and then enable people to go back to this, encourage them to work in a way that suits them best, watch or not watch, try or not try, do something practical, tech-based, thinking about the key themes that we just keep reiterating. That's all it is in that role, nothing more. You're not expected to be an expert in these things. Discover and explore if you haven't come across them yourselves before. If you have, and you can show some examples, fantastic. But it's not supposed to be everybody in the AT and PD team knows these tools inside out. We're not setting ourselves up like that. It's just a way of pushing the utilization of more technology in a way that will enable people to meet the other priorities across the college. And if people ask about Moodle, one thing you can say is all of these things work beautifully with Moodle because they all come with embed codes. More on that if anyone's interested some other time. Okay, hope that all makes sense. Let's just go back to those links. There you go. So that first one there, tiny.cc/EHWLC Jan 5 will take you where? Yep, to the blend space. And the second one, that will take you to the presentation, which has a link to the handout and a link to the video. Okay, thank you very much for listening. Bye.